a custody battle. Is that really what you want to do? Let's talk about it. I'll start by saying that a custody battle is going to have negative effects on your child. So before we even get into this, let's just say that you're going to be a great parent, and if you separate from your partner, you're going to co-parent well. You're not going to fight over the child. You're going to do what's in the best interest of the child, which is keep a cordial relationship. Do not speak to your child about the other parent in negative ways. Any plans made will be made between yourself and your partner. No messages will be passed between your child and your partner. The child will not be a liaison or some middleman between the two of you. Those are a few things that I can advise off the top of my head. Now, I will go on to say that when my daughter was in second grade, I did obtain custody of her. I'm not going to go into any personal detail about the reasons in which I did so. However, I will say that it was necessary. And with that said, I'll give a bit of insight of when that is necessary. The simple answer is, if any of those things that I noted prior to getting to this point is a reality for you, where you don't follow those guidelines, then it's a possibility that custody may need to be given to the most responsible parent. The only time you should fight to obtain custody of a child, which is typically going to be the man fighting to get custody from the mother, is if the mother is abusive to your child in any way. That doesn't necessarily mean physical abuse, but that can also mean mental abuse. There's a such thing as mental abuse. Not only mental abuse, but any type of neglect or a desperate attempt to keep you away from your child. This can be a male or a female. And if that mother or father is abusive in a way that psychologically affects the child, and that they're toxifying the perception of the other parent to that child, that is something that you want to avoid. If the child is not being taken to school, that's another grounds for getting custody. If your child is in an environment that is unsafe and the other parent refuses to adjust, that can be grounds for going for custody. And in going for custody, I'll give a few tips here. You only want to speak on what's best for the child. You don't want to personally attack the other parent in court, just as you don't want to personally attack the other parent in front of or even away from the other parent when it comes to the child. And that is just a little bit on when you should, when you shouldn't go for custody of a child. You know, a custody battle, again, is very harmful to a child. So if you're going to do that, simply because you two can't get along, the two parents can't get along, and are doing something that's harmful to the child. And I'm going to say something, before I wrap this up, that may be difficult to accept. If the child is with a good parent that is obeying and following these guidelines, but has a problem with the other parent that is being kept away from the child for whatever reason, then and that parent is a good parent and is not tainting the perception of the child, but just feels somehow or for some reason that the child is in danger, or it could be based on your actions. You really have to hold yourself accountable and be honest and say, why is this person keeping me away from my child? But they're allowing me to interact with my child regularly, just not allowing a child to be a full resident at my home. You have to ask yourself that. And if you're being honest with yourself, if they have any reason to believe that you're irresponsible or not a good parent, you just have to own that. It will be a waste of time to go to some custody battle for a child that is in good hands. So you do the best that you can from that distance, as long as your reputation to your child is not being affected. So with that said, the only time you want to go into a custody battle is if the pros outweigh the cons of the child staying in your custody. And you have to be able to prove that. One more tip: always get a paper trail. If the child is not going to school, ensure that you get a teacher to sign a form. If you're the one taking care of the child financially or any other way, you want to make sure you document that by keeping receipts, taking pictures of receipts. You want to document if you're taking a child back and forth to school by starting some type of form that you can have the teacher sign every time you come pick the child up. If a teacher or anyone that the child is in custody of for any period of time is mentioning that they are noticing abuse or neglect in any type of way, not necessarily physical again, but maybe the child is not going to school, or the parent is difficult to deal with and it's affecting the child, make sure you get that in writing, and have all of those things available should you need to go to court. But I strongly advise against it. Don't do it just to say you did it, because it's either not going to work out for you, and if you don't have a genuine reason to do so, the judge is going to see right through you. So y'all be good out there.